Alright, this is Steve Coney from RDoc really quickly. We really haven't visited tactics. We have strategy, the larger strategy, the big picture, the big thing, but the tactics aren't in very many of the videos. Most of them are going to get taught aboard ship and on island and in the mountains in our venues. But this gives you a glimpse of the tactical. We're going to be doing some really advanced things digitally. That includes tools like MediaWiki farms, lots of MediaWiki pages, millions of them, like Twitter dominance, thousands of Twitter accounts, not one or two, but 10, 20, 30 per night, per person who joins our operation. And then the counts all have 20, 50, 100,000 followers, because we can automate that with our tools. It doesn't cost very much. It doesn't take very long. You can buy Twitter followers. You can supplement them. Lots of things can happen once you have a big Twitter presence, and especially a tribal Twitter presence that's 100 million followers or more in aggregate and speaking essentially as one voice to dominate the hashtags, the global trending hashtags. That's powerful. And when the Twitter accounts are spread all over the globe in 100 countries, nobody knows where they're coming from. Nobody knows how someone is orchestrating these tweets and automating them with software. We're going to do that. Xrumor, this is a link spammer. This is what the Ruskies use and other nefarious under-the-table, you can call it black hat, gray hat, not exactly white hat, whatever, but you're competing against the link spammers. You're competing against the cloaked feeder site arrays that people put up. You're competing against technology you don't even know exists, and that's not a good idea. You at least want to know what the naughty people, and that's not with boats, the naughty people that are geeks are doing to compete with you and be able to choose. You should be able to choose whether or not you're going to use their tactics or not. But if you don't even know what they're using, well, that's a problem for your business model, because they're going to clean your clock on the search engines and with traffic and all of those things that we don't aspire to, because we're going after very small numbers of people with large influence and large dollars, and we're collecting a lot of money per sale. That's different than almost everyone else, online or offline, who's all searching for the Holy Grail, which is the Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, J.C. Penney's, Sears model, which is massive, 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 massive nooses around other people's necks, shoved into some funnel where they're all uncomfortable in there, and most of them are tire kickers. They're not exactly paying customers unless they paid $7 for something. And then you're trying to make that particular sow's ear into a silk purse that you make $100,000 with. Isn't going to happen. If you're going after employees who are going back to work on Monday and don't have any damn money, well, they're probably not going to have $100,000 to give you for whatever you have. Even if it's a Ferrari worth $500, they don't have $100,000 to get it 80% off, do they? So the tactics that I'm going to talk about are about ICPs. That would be influence choke points. These are events. They happen about the same time of the year every single year. Like clockwork, there are big people, there are people with money, people with influence, people who are doing things, shaking things up, moving from place to place around the world. And we're going to be at those events regularly throughout the year. There are also events that are not regular. They might be at a different time during the year, and we're going to find out where they live and find out if they work. That's called testing. And then we're going to exploit them. That's tactical. The events that we hold aboard our ships, aboard our mountain hideaways, on our fee simple islands that we don't have a mortgage on, that we don't lease, that we're not pretending to own, that we own. Fee simple. That kind of island. In an exotic location, with our boats standing off the island's shoreline. We're going to have events on those islands that are going to invite wealthy people and people with means and people who are in the top 1,000 on the Twitaholic list and people who've just gotten done with a tour around the world with their touring band. Those kind of people are coming to these large assets. That's why the assets are so large. They're sexy. They will attract big players. Whales. This is whale bait. These are whale bait. And when they come, we don't talk business. We just have fun. And we want to hear them sing. And they want to hear their friends sing, who also got invited at the same time. How about that? They have just as much star-crossed in their eyes when another whale shows up in their same space as you do and I do. And they admit it on camera that they are sycophants for other stars. And we're going to invite them to the same space, and they're going to recruit each other. How about that? There are other tactics that are equally important. Embedded Pearl. Pearl stands for personalized URL. This is when you send a targeted direct mail piece, which a 9-year-old girl or a 90-year-old grandmother can do, to a person who has influence, money, power, expertise, and you invite them to a personalized website that's only for them, and you give them the log on in the direct mail piece, and they have a custom conversation waiting for them by the person who invited them with the house's support behind that person. And that's powerful, and that's mimetic. That means it can be translated to any person. Anyone can do this. Most people won't be able to because they won't be able to afford it. Only the people who get in the early rounds, in the early adoptive stages of this, are going to be able to afford the few $1,000s it costs to get in. And then it's going to cost $50,000 or $100,000, and most humans are not going to ever have that in their whole life, and that's the way we want it. This is exclusive. This is not mass marketing. This is about whales. This is the country club model. This is the yacht club model. This is invite only. This is targeted. This is going after people where they live with their physical address flapping in the breeze because of the can-span law. And here comes the invite to the big dance. And they're coming. And there's a good possibility they're signing. And that makes you make a whole bunch of money from one single sale. And this is the tactics discussion. There's a lot of tactics behind what I just said, but if this doesn't give you a clue how powerful the tactics are, both on the digital and the physical side, that's why we call it a PDF, a physical digital framework, or I like to call it a WRF, like the Klingon, a wicked global recruiting framework, a WRF. That's what you're talking about, and it sounds just like what we launch our boats from, spelled differently. Sound-alikes, or I call them phonemes, also foxnemes, F-A-U-X. Phonemes are really powerful, and you can recognize patterns and figure things out by listening to the way things are pronounced or not pronounced or butchered in their pronunciation. Those are meaningful too. If you just look closely enough at how people screw up the pronunciations, you're going to find little gems in there, in the characters, in the languages. It's always about the symbology, isn't it? That's what copywriting is. That's what persuasion is. That's what writing, billboards, advertising, all of that boils down to the symbology. And when you turn the symbols into a soundtrack, a recording vocal, also known as a recreational vehicle, also known as a recruiting vessel, RV, 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 then you have contact with outer space and a very, very extra-galactic way of making money that nobody else has, because they don't have those big, huge strategies that we have, and they don't have these types of tactics, which are scary in power. They took a long time to develop. They really developed over many thousands, even millions of years, because they're part of the human genome. They are in people's DNA, and people respond to what their amygdala tells them to do. That would be the croc brain that Oren Klaff is talking about in Pitch Anything. They are accustomed to making almost every human decision based on that ancient 5 million year old brain stem location called the amygdala or croc brain. And if you start speaking to that, that's why sex sells itself, then you have a scary amount of power to sell, to persuade, to get people to join, to do things. They don't even know why they're doing it. It's because of ancient parts of the human system. So that's the tactical discussion coming at you from RDoC in Shilshole Bay Marina.